Please welcome Booking Holdings CEO, Glenn Fogel. Hey, Glenn.
Hello, Lorraine. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good.
So before we get started, someone else wrote this, so I need to confirm something.
Okay.
You wanted to be a writer. Is that true?
Well, the story's more complicated than that.
Well, we only have 35 minutes, so.
Well, let me fill it up so we don't use any hard questions. I was unemployed at a point in my career. I'd been fired. So for anybody who's been fired, I suggest that you say, I'm not fired, I'm working on a book. Which is what I was literally doing, because I always did want to write something. So I wrote a manuscript. And then back then, there wasn't really self-publishing, so you had to get an agent and actually get something published. And I start sending it out to agents, and I'm getting some of the best rejection letters ever. Derivative and not too good, junk. I mean, they're really horrible. I should say them. And then, but I was also single, and a friend of mine set me up with a woman for a blind date. And she had formerly been an editor at Random House. She was now a lawyer. But I'm like, absolutely want to meet her. She sounds fantastic. And we went out on 2 dates, and it wasn't working so well, but of course, I still want to develop a relationship with her. Third date, I bring the manuscript in the box, and she knows exactly what the box is, and she thinks I'm carrying around dog crap. You know, she like doesn't want to touch it, but she was nice enough, so she takes it. And I left that date. It was a brunch date because I was unemployed, so trying to be cheap. And I left saying, well, I just killed a whole bunch of trees for no reason at all, and so much for that. And she called me a couple hours later, and she said, hey, this isn't that bad. Maybe there's something there.
She liked your book?
And I thought, yes. And the book was never published, but we are married now 21 years, 2 kids, and it was worthwhile. So I strongly suggest, write a book.
So writing that book was the best thing you ever did?
Absolutely.
So Glenn, our lovely theme, Are We There Yet? Which we had a lot of fun with today, talking about, driving the car from New York City to Miami with no air conditioning, those kinds of things.
But that's not a problem.
That's not a problem.
Not compared to last night.
Oh, okay. Do you want to go there?
Sure. So people sometimes ask me, do we think travel's broken or not? And broken may not be the right word, but it can be really improved. Let me tell you what happened yesterday. I had a really hard day yesterday. I had a conference in New York, started 6:30 in the morning. I had to get up, and I had to actually get in the car at 6:30, so 5:30 wake up. And it was tough. It was one of those things where you're on stage the whole day with investors and really tiring. 4:30, rush to the airport, get on a plane, all that, come down here. And I'm so looking forward to the beautiful weather here from New York, and I'm going to get a balcony, and I'm going to just relax a little bit. And now it's about 11:15, and I get to the front desk. There's nobody there. And I go, I give my ID and everything, woman takes my credit card, puts it in, all that, and then she's looking, and there's that bad look on her face. Now, Rob Torres from Google, he shows up about the same time, a little bit behind me. He gets there, he's doing the same thing. We start talking. We're friends from forever, and we're talking. And the woman behind the desk says, there's only one room left, and it's actually for Mr. Torres. And I'm like, huh? What? I paid the full amount. I even used the block from Focus. I didn't even use Booking.com to be a good guy for the conference and all that. And now Rob is both looking at me with amusement and horror, and what should he do? Because people say we're the biggest customer of Google.
So who do you blame for that?
Just wait. This is a good story.
Hey, who's in charge here?
I practiced this.
Okay.
So Rob's looking at me, he doesn't know what to do, right? And then the woman just the second woman gives Rob the key. And Rob says, you take the room, Glenn. And I'm like, I don't want to take your room, yeah, fine. And he's like, okay. But make the point though, he did offer it. That shows how to do customer relations, and I'm serious about that. He did it, he offered it up. Never say anything bad about people at Google. That was a good thing. So he goes off. I'm with the woman. I say, I'd like to speak to a manager. Manager's off duty. They bring over a manager finally. And I'm still in a calm mood. I have not yet gone to, 120 miles an hour hyper. And the guy now repeats what the woman just said. There are no rooms. We're sorry. But I have good news for you. We're going to comp you for the night. We make $6 billion in EBITDA. I don't need 200. And then I'm like, this is insane. Anyway, it's not until I start getting a little more agitated, revving things up a little bit, when somebody says, oh, wait, maybe there is a room. And the manager, after a while, goes off somewhere, comes back. I guess he waited a certain amount of time to think like he was actually doing something. Comes back. Mr. Fogel, we have very good news. We have a room. And I'm so tempted to say to me, so did you just lie to me to my face right there? Is that what happened? Really? But I didn't because I wanted the room. So I said, thank you. And I went in the elevator, and Rob Torres is coming down the elevator, and he says, hey, you got a room. I'm like, yes, thank God, because they wanted to walk me to God knows where. I get upstairs. I'm really, God. And I'm thinking like, they do that to me. Booking Holdings probably provides more customers to Hilton than any other third-party distributor. And that's how they treat me. How do they treat everybody else? Pretty much the same, I imagine. And then I'm thinking Phocuswright must spend a fortune with this. The Diplomat must love Phocuswright, and yet they treat the guests of Phocuswright like this. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it was just me. So here's where it really gets interesting. This morning, our head of communications, worldwide communications, Leslie Cafferty, great woman. She has on speed dial every single journalist in the world in travel. Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, anything, anywhere, she's got it, right? She had a knee operation just last week. She's on crutches. She showed up last night at 8 o'clock in crutches. Gets her way to the front desk with her bag. I don't know how she did it, by herself. They tell her, no rooms. Sorry, we're going to walk you. The woman's in crutches. What are you talking about, walk? What are you? She says, I'm not leaving. I want my room. I paid. I want my room. Lo and behold, after her not moving for a while, they gave her a room. So clearly there was a room. And once again, lying to her face. That's hospitality?
So
That's
Glenn,
ridiculous.
can I
No,
now?
we're not done yet.
But you are.
Yeah. So one of the things, though, I thought about this a
Still
little bit.
mad.
I'm thinking about why does that happen? Now, why? Because general manager wants to hit a target, RevPAR number. He's got to hit his bonus. He's worried what's going to happen up at headquarters. He's got to hit his numbers. They figure out how many people will show, not show, trying scientifically to figure it out. And yet, what that really means is you're going to screw a lot of people. And whether it's me, CEO of the biggest travel company in the world, or someone here who came here as a startup, and they scraped together the money to come here, and they want every single second to network, and every second to be here, and that's why they spent the money for this place. And they gave the money. And in return for giving the money, they expected to have a room because they said they give a room. And yet that's not what happens. That's wrong. Now, how can that be solved? Well, one of the things interesting is they kept on saying nobody had no rooms, no rooms, no rooms. They could have texted me and a lot of other people some point in the afternoon and said, Mr. Fogel, we're sorry, we're in an overbooked situation. Would you like to get some compensation instead and choose one of our lovely hotels that are 5 miles away? On an airline, when they overbook, you're offered, is anyone to volunteer and get some points? Good system. People say, yeah, I'll take those points. And they could have done that, in fact, but there's no system for that at all. So here we have technology that could easily make this whole situation much better, but nobody's doing anything about it. Which to me, when we say, is travel broken, and I talk about this wonderful connected trip and how we're going to do this personalization, all these great things, my God, how about let's have it so there's a room when you've already paid for it? That was the story I wanted to give. What do you got to say?
I think I'm. So no one has ever booked a hotel room on Booking.com and got turned away?
Sorry?
No one ever booked a hotel room on Booking.com and got turned away? Because
Absolutely has happened. Now, one of the wonderful things, I should show you this email. It's a great email. Another story from Iceland. It's a wonderful story. I'm going to send this to you, Lorraine, because you're not going to believe this is true, and it is. I got an email from somebody who went to Iceland at a hotel, overbooked. And the person, starts saying, but booking.com, and then the person called our customer service, and our customer service person spoke to the hotelier, and lo and behold, there was a room somehow. Why? Because we give this hotel a lot of business. So the mysterious missing room suddenly appeared. So yes, that does happen. That's why I say, everybody in this room, booking.com, because we have leverage, though apparently not much here at this place, because last night I was almost out the door.
So do you feel better?
Oh God, I feel so much better saying this.
Whew. Okay, well, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Okay, because I'm glad you feel better. I do. So the hospitality industry is obviously still broken in your mind.
There's some errors that I think can be corrected and made better.
And yet the hospitality industry, you are the hospitality industry.
And we are doing our best to help make this better. And next time when I'm speaking with the CEOs, the major chains in the world, hotels, I'm going to say, guys, why don't we come up with a system, a little bit like the airlines, that when you know you're in an overbooked situation, that you can start alerting the people who have not arrived yet and start offering them the compensation beforehand instead of waiting until you show up at the front desk and not have a room. It will make it so much better. And guys, it's not hard. There's a thing, it's called a phone, and you already have the phone number, and you could text it. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
I don't think so.
Are you doing it?
I wouldn't think so. They had a list. They knew how many people they saw it. As they were getting closer and closer, and they saw how many were checking in, they had a curve. They have all these models. In fact, they know exactly what percentage they're going to overbook, assuming on the average how many people will show or not. This is not like we're not inventing a cure to cancer, guys. We're saying, oh my God, it looks high probability we're not going to have rooms for everybody. Let's take the list of the people who have not come and let's tell them early about it. This isn't that hard. And then the thing is, and I really believe this, we can extend this in so many parts of the travel industry that can be improved. Better communication. And by the way, you know what really would have helped? If they had started off with not, there's no room, but said, we only have a few rooms left. Would you like to get some compensation and go to the other place or not? That would have changed the whole thing. And that is telling me, yeah, we took your money, Glenn. We took your money, but you can't have the room you want, so get the hell out and go down to this other hotel.
Okay, so do you think so you're saying that this is an example of an issue with the entire industry, but it happened to you now. How often has that happened to you?
In fact, I knew about this because 2 years ago, Todd Henrik, who's the head of our corporate development, he's still with corporate development. 2 years ago, exact same thing happened here, and he bunked with the guy who runs our rental car business. Here's the funny thing about it. It just shows how I was saying yeah, wow, that's really unfortunate. And then I went on my own merry way, not thinking about much, because it really mattered more when it happened to me.
Okay. So now that's the real problem. It happened to you.
And that's why I'm upset. And the thing is, though, I should be upset. I should be upset when every time that happens to any of our customers. Yes. Anywhere in the industry, and it's not just Hilton, it's everybody who does this. But these are the things that we can improve upon. By the way, let's go on to some other things. We'll rip this up because it's more fun. So there's an issue of resort fees, right? Everybody hates the fact that at the end of the day, you go through the whole funnel, and there's a resort fee at the end of the darn thing. And to me, that doesn't seem right. You should show all the costs right up front. Sorry?
Drip pricing?
It's really bad. They shouldn't do it. Now, here's why it happens. Because if one company does it, they get an advantage. And look, it's just everybody says, well, I don't want to do it, but if I do it, I'm the only one who doesn't do it, or I'm one of the few people who doesn't do it, and then I'm not competitive with all the other, so I'd have to do it too. And that's why regulation sometimes can be really good, setting a level playing field with the right expectations for everybody.
Who's going to regulate that?
Well, it's interesting because the U.S. government actually has very clear rules about how you display prices on airlines. Very clear rules about that, guys.
So you think they should do the same with hotels?
I think it'd be very helpful that everybody could do the same thing, show all the prices up front, and we'd all be okay. That's what the cost is.
So not paying commission on resort fees, is that like a spanking? I mean, are you just kind of making some noise there, or is this a real thing?
No, so the unfortunate thing is, here we got, let's say you have two hotels. And let's say they charge the same amount of money, okay? Then one hotel decides to put on a resort fee. The other one just raises the price. Let's say they're 100, one puts on a $25 resort fee, the other one raised the ADR to 125. Now, under the way you do commissions in this industry, it's on the room rate. So the one who's doing the right thing, the better thing, showing the price up front, 125, they are paying a higher commission to the agent. Meanwhile, the one who did the bad thing, 125, they don't have to pay as much commission. That's completely backwards. And that's why we believe that, some guys, whether you're charging, a resort fee or you're not charging a resort fee, the commission should go against the whole thing. And by the way, the local taxes should go against the whole thing. So it's not just commissions. In certain jurisdictions, maybe in certain jurisdictions, the local occupancy tax doesn't apply against the resort fee. That gives an incentive to a property to change around how they're doing it and putting the more money into the resort fee and not have to have that occupancy charging.
So are you seeing a difference? And in which markets?
I haven't seen anything yet, and I would very much so like to see everybody in the industry just do the right thing. Show the prices up front, be fair to the consumer, hospitality. Where does that word be hospitable to each other? That's what I'd like in the industry. I'm sorry, you had some questions, I think.
So let's move on to flights. Why are you getting into air? How do you make money in air?
Oh, there are lots of ways to make money in air.
As an OTA?
Oh, yeah. As an OTA, so of course there are certain airlines around the world, depending on where you are, what part of the geography, you can actually make nice commissions. You can also, the airlines are willing to give you net rates that you can mark up depending on thing. Even better though, when people ask, so why are you going into the air part in Europe with Booking.com and you have a Agoda now doing it in Asia? What's that all about? And we talk about this connected trip. And the beginning part of travel planning for so many people is that flight. So the first thing is we want to get the customer, we want to get that right at the beginning. But even more so is you want to be able to use all the information you have about that customer to personalize and give them what they need. So when somebody gives us the stuff, when they book a flight with us, we can then offer up to them right away the best ground transportation for that person. And we have a perfect example, though it wasn't an air example, it was actually a hotel. My CFO and my investor relations, we were in Europe talking, again, one of those investor conferences where you got to talk a lot. And in one of the meetings, one of the investors, a very big one, said, yeah, I know exactly because I booked on Booking.com for a hotel, and there were 5 or 6 of us, I don't remember which one it was, people, and you guys offered up to us a people mover, like it's a minivan, only it's Europe, so they call it something else. And he said, I was amazed. You knew that's really what we wanted. Well, we did because we knew how many people you were in your hotel booking, and we put that together and did that. And then he said, but I wasn't certain the price would be right, so I checked around, and you guys it was the best price. Yes, it was the best price. Why? Because we were able to negotiate with that service provider a better rate because the amount of demand we can put to them. That's the type of thing. So you make flights right on the flight itself, but the great thing is then you will be able to add more and more things on and make it a much better experience.
So are you a hotel service that sells flights? Or is flights going to be, are you a hotel service booking that sells flights, or are you a full service OTA now?
We are trying to do, our long-term goal at Booking is to create what we have called several times, and I'll repeat it because I like to repeat things, connected trip. The connected trip is every single part of that, It's the flight, it's the ground transportation, it's the hotel or a home or a villa or an igloo or whatever you like to stay in, do that. Attractions, because nobody has ever stayed in the hotel just to go to the city. You want to do stuff, so you got to have the attractions. And everybody has to eat, so you got open table. And you want to have a wonderful experience. And by doing it all together, off one payment platform, doing it that way. When things go wrong, because I know things do go wrong, I know that, we can help fix it better. So for example, that flight's delayed, it happens. Well, you want to make sure that immediately that ground transportation person who's going to pick you up, that is changed immediately. You want that you're going to be late for that dinner that you did with Open Table. You want to be able to change that reservation. But even more so, the personalization. So imagine now that the restaurant doesn't actually have any availability at that later time because you're arriving later. Well, we want to use all that personalization to be able to come back and say, we're sorry, but that restaurant will not be able to seat you at that later time, but here are all the other restaurants in the area that we know about that we can then put you in place there. That's the type of thing I envision. So booking will be, we're not doing it now. We don't do just accommodations. We do a lot of things.
So when we're sitting here next year and talking about your progress on the Connected Trip, what are you going to say?
I'm going to say we have continued to make progress. I will say that what I've said before and before, this is something that never ends, by the way. Technology continues to advance. New things are coming in all the time. Sometimes our investors say the exact same thing you said. So not are we there yet, they say, are we done yet? And I have to tell them honestly, it's never done.
So then the technology isn't existing today that's going to make this happen?
Absolutely.
It is or it isn't?
It is. It's blocking and tackling. It's tying things together. It's making sure the personalization. We have a very large office in Tel Aviv filled with a whole bunch of AI, machine learning, genius types. And they use all the data that we're putting in there so they can come up and personalize all the offerings. So we know what should we be offering, what combination, when and how. And by the way, the great thing about creating something like this is creating a merchandising ability for our suppliers. So it's not only all the great things for the customer, the traveler, but it's providing a place where our suppliers can come and put in offers to the biggest source of demand in the world for travel and offer that up to them. So if somebody needs more people at a particular restaurant Open Table, we'll be able to put that through to the people who want that type of a restaurant. If certain types of attractions, somebody wants, they need more demand, they can put in discounted prices for us, and we can put them in just certain types of geographies. There's so much complexity in it, but technology will help solve that. I absolutely believe we're getting there. It's early days, but I like what I say.
Okay. So let's talk about private accommodation. You have 6 million, you say unique.
6.2.
Now you call them unique places to stay. What is it?
No, we say we have 6.2 million listings.
What's a
in
listing?
ultimate
A listing.
accommodations.
A listing is what, a room?
A listing could be if you have one igloo, that would be one listing.
Okay.
If you have an igloo and a treehouse, that's 2 listings. If you have a building that has condos, and we have 4 different condos there, that would be 4 listings.
Are these all instantly bookable?
Every
just
single
like a
one.
hotel. Okay. So you have, and then how many hotels?
A lot.
More than
I haven't looked at the number recently.
millions and millions and multiple. Okay.
We have
So-
20, a little more than 28 million listings total, which is really the way to look at it, because people compare sometimes to some of our competitors like Airbnb. Now they have hotels now, they're starting to get them, and they have private accommodation, all those things, and they how many listings they have, so they have hotels now. So the comparison should always be against our 28 million. That's the standard to compare against.
Right. So what I want to ask you about that, because you have a lot of experience now selling home and apartment rentals side by side with hotels.
Correct.
And the same search results.
Correct.
What are you seeing? Now, you've mentioned, first of all, that the private accommodation is growing faster. So my question is that growing faster organically, or is that shifting, are people shifting from purchasing a hotel? Like, in other words, right, is it new demand, or are these people saying, I would have booked a hotel and I'm going to book a villa or an apartment or a home?
One of the great things we believe about our Booking.com site is putting together all the different types of accommodations in one search result. And the thing is, we know this from data, people who come to our site beginning to think we want one type of accommodation end up buying another. So it's a very powerful effect to be able to offer all different types because of that lack of real knowledge until you show up, and you're actually able then to compare all the different types of accommodations, what the prices are, what do the reviews look like, all of those things. The other thing is because they are all instantly bookable, it's not as though, okay, that one, if you click on that one, you're going to have to go back and forth with a host, back and forth with a host. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Oops, you're not going to get it. What a waste of your time. We don't do that crap. That's a waste of time. Every single thing, instantly bookable.
But is it new demand, or is it hotel stayers who are looking at different options?
It's interesting because, as I just said, people don't even know what they want when they get there. So I could come up with, well, we did a survey, and people said now they're coming to us because we offer homes. But the fact is, how many of them actually took the home? In that particular instance, they took a hotel. People use different accommodations for different reasons and different uses. One of our advantages, I believe, is just having more of everything. Breadth. Breadth is good.
China. So you have partnerships with Didi, right?
Yep.
Meituan.
Yep.
Grab.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about what your strategy is, and what do you think of the super app? Are you booking? You're kind of working with Grab. You're kind of thinking, well, maybe I'm going to work with someone that's doing food, or is it ground transportation? Like, where is booking going to be further integrated into this super app? And is that something we're going to see evolve outside of China?
Well, those are a lot of questions. Let's start with China in general. So China, as if you're reading the papers, has been going through some economic slowdown. Certainly the trade friction with the U.S. is not helping things. In addition, it's also causing people in China to change some of their travel patterns. So you may have seen that the number of outbound people from China to the U.S. has actually declined. People are choosing to go to other places. That can be a problem for someone who deals a lot of outbound business, like ourselves. That's annoying. And then you see other things in China. The unrest in Hong Kong is certainly causing problems there. So China as a travel area is certainly having its issues right now. Long term, absolutely, we believe China is going to continue to be, and it is. It's a short-term thing happening. It's going to continue to be the place to be if you want to be part of travel growth for the next couple decades. You look at all the demographics, you look at the numbers, you see how many people actually have passports to leave. Very small number. You see GDP going up. People love to travel. There are going to be more people traveling. We want to be there. So how are we going to be there? We have our organic strategy. We have almost approximately 1,000 people in China, our employees in all these different offices in China. But that's not the only way. We also do it with partnerships. So we've made investments in Trip.com, formerly Ctrip, Meituan. Also Didi, which is the ground transportation player in China. We've done a deal with them because we want to access that customer base in China, along with provide a seamless, holistic way for people to get around in China when they get there. All different ways. And there are commercial relationships that we haven't invested, but they're commercial relationships. Lots of different things to do. Right now, it's in a little bit of a problem, but I absolutely believe in the long run, China will continue to be a fantastic play. Now, the super app phenomenon, which is much more prevalent in Asia, is interesting because we haven't really seen that much in the parts of the Western world. But you absolutely want to be part of some of these. So Grab, super app type player, we're there. We're working with, we do work with Meituan. We absolutely recognize that in different parts of the world, you have to do business slightly differently or sometimes a lot differently. We help build our business with Google. Google's not a strong player in China, so we had to find other ways to get customers.
So do you see the super app being something outside that's going to work outside of China? You think it's just specific to China?
It'll be interesting to see over time as people are growing up, the younger generations, the millennial generation, and what their patterns of using apps will be, and how different will it be from a dinosaur like me, a baby boomer. So it'll be interesting. It could be. We'll see over time. It certainly seems to be very, very useful to the people who use these in Asia. We'll see how it plays out in Europe and the U.S.
Okay. So if you look at the U.S. and look at, say, Europe, I guess, are those your two biggest regions right now?
I'm saying
but
we
so
don't talk about our geographies, except Europe's our home, our place we started.
But can you talk a little bit about growth in terms of, for years we had 20% growth, top line gross booking growth, and now we're in more of a slower growth mode. Is that because of some stresses in the US and Europe? Is that because you're exposed more internationally than your competitor? Or is that just the industry is now 20 years old?
So we reported our numbers in the third quarter last week, and we were pretty pleased with those numbers. 11% room night growth, we thought was good. Our earnings per share growth, this is the non-GAAP EPS, 20% year-over-year growth, 24% approximately when you adjust for the currency headwind that we're facing. Very good numbers. We're a very big company growing, and when you're growing the size that we are, it's not as easy, of course, to create huge, like 20, 30%. I am happy with the way we're going. People ask me, is there a problem in the travel industry? I don't think so. You see occupancy rates in hotels. Some of them are very filled. You see load factors on planes filled. So I think overall the travel industry is fairly healthy.
Are you concerned about the economy, the global economy in 2020?
There are areas, as I just mentioned, about Asia. You get to Europe. Certainly, there are some countries that are having a little bit of sluggishness. Obviously, everyone is concerned about Brexit. What effect might that have? Could be big, may not be big at all. We'll see how it plays out. We'd like the European economies to grow faster. That would help our industry, but we're okay with the growth rate. We're quite pleased with how things are going.
Okay, good. So we haven't talked about Google yet. And of course, there's been a lot of talk about how a lot of the online travel agencies and TripAdvisor as well, just got hit in the third quarter because of the whole SEO not being what it used to be, not giving the results it used to be. And that has impacted perhaps Expedia more than Booking. First of all, why is that?
Well, I can't speak for the other companies, and I assume that they've already talked about it or we'll talk about it tomorrow. I can only talk about ourselves. So what we said is that, SEO, we saw a small headwind, but it's a small channel for us, a relatively small channel, and we did not see anything that we wanted to call out at all. Look, the fact is, our company, we absolutely believe the best way to make sure that we have a strong future is to get people to come to us direct. And the way to get them to come direct and be loyal, to keep coming back, is provide the best service you can. Really give somebody something that's a differentiator. And that's why we keep pushing this connected trip. Because we believe if you're just offering one thing, it's not that differentiated, and it ends up being a price game, and that's not the thing. Yes, you have to have great price. You have to provide value, but you want to add more. As the biggest player in the space, we have the resources, we have the capital, we have the engineers, the technologists, the AI specialists. Use that technology to really create something, and we can afford to do it because we can spread that over a much larger base. That's why I believe in the long run we have a very good future.
So you're pulling back also on paid advertising on Google, and can you explain that in the third quarter versus the second quarter? Is that a trend we're going to see continued? And I get it, the things that you're saying are a little longer term in terms of the connected trip and all that, and building your direct business. Short term, does that leave you a little more exposed?
So look, we are always balancing all of our marketing money for what we think is the best use of that money to create the best ROIs and the long-term growth. So we balance and see, well, what does the conversion look like? What's the cost per click? Where we think our brand advertising is. So is it a good position or not a good position? So we're always moving that around, up, down, and around. I absolutely believe that we have the opportunity right now to provide a better service. And the marketing part is the stuff that gets people in the door, but then give them the better result, give them the better service. Make it so that when people leave, they are really happy, and then they'll come back. That's the thing. The best piece of marketing advertising is a satisfied customer.
And you have a lot of satisfied customers at Booking.com.
The numbers would seem to indicate that.
Tell me about your Genius program and loyalty, because I mean, loyalty needs to be reinvented, doesn't it? I mean, what's loyalty is now like? What do you get people? What do you get? Like I think that's a great program because you get to redeem it as you're traveling, like you don't have to wait like 2 years to get points.
Yeah, no, the Genius program.
But is it something you're going to emphasize more?
We think the Genius program is just fantastic. It's good for the customer. It's good for the partner. Everybody, it's win-win-win all throughout. When you're a Genius member and you're getting those discounted prices right up front, you don't have to redeem points. You don't have to remember how many points do I have, put them in, put them out, whatever. It works, and it makes loyalty, it makes people come back, which is loyalty. And now we just, you've probably seen it, we are now doing it not just for Booking.com, but if you are at Agoda, or if you're at Priceline.com, and it'll be a Kayak too. If you are a Genius person, you're going to get those Genius rates no matter which part of our family you're coming in at. And we believe that it's one of those things that I don't want to discriminate against any of our customers. All of our customers deserve to get those best prices.
Have hotel loyalty rates hurt you at all? Hotels offering lower rates when you're a member of the hotel loyalty program like Hilton?
Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, I've got high status in Hilton's loyalty program. I don't have anything. This thing about Hilton, let's make sure about it. It's not just Hilton. Let's not just pick on Hilton, guys. This could have happened at any hotel in any part of the world. Absolutely.
So that status you're saying didn't make a difference in this?
Well, I booked through you. On the block.
Not me. You didn't book through me. I didn't do that.
Well, not you personally,
okay,
but I took the block from Fogel. Who knows? I assure you, being the CEO of the company that provides the most customers wasn't much status either, so who knows? The issue is, though, if you're a loyal customer to a hotel, you're going to keep going there direct if you want to continue to build those points. And one of the great things working with all our partners, our hotel partners, is we're not trying to get that person to come to us first. We're not. We're getting the person who has less loyalty to a hotel, the person who is not wedded to any particular brand. We're adding incremental customers to them, people who they may not have reached. One of the most powerful things is the fact that we're doing it in over 40 languages, all the content. Even some of the biggest hotel chains in the world do not have all the content and language that we have. So for example, when you are a hotel, big or small, let's say somewhere in the Tyrolean Alps, and you want to get more customers, you are not going to be trying to get people coming from, let's say, China, for example, where you have to deal with all the customer service in China if there's a problem. We do that for these hotels. We're providing great value. We don't charge the hotel anything at all unless they're making money, because there's a head in their bed. Then we charge them what is an extremely fair thing, and we'll handle all the customer service for them too. We do all the content for them. We market all those things. It's a good trade. I think it's been wonderful, and I think that's why we both, hotels and us, have been successful.
So we're going to conclude with a few questions.
None from the audience, I notice.
I think they might be a little intimidated.
Yeah, they're probably already going to the bar.
And by the way, after this are drinks, and I will be the first one at the bar. Okay, Glenn, what is one perception of the company you would like to change?
Interesting. I think we're still perceived as just an accommodation company and just a hotel company. Now, we have a very, very large alternative accommodation business, but I know if I walk down the streets here in this town and I say I need to rent an apartment, the odds they're going to say Booking.com fairly low, I imagine. So I want that spontaneous awareness that Booking.com offers all different types of alternative accommodations to be as well known as any of our perhaps better well-known competitor.
Okay. What is one perception of the industry you would like to change?
Oh God, I have to be careful on this one. I think there's a perception about travel that it is stagnant, that it's not changing much, it's the same old, same old. There's been a lot of change. There really has been. I remember when I used to have to get an actual ticket, paper ticket with this strange red carbon stuff. And I remember where you had to do so many different things to get a hotel. You had to like do this thing called faxes. You had to fax something. Nowadays, I showed up at Delta, and all I had to do was look into a machine, face recognition, boom, right on. So this industry is moving. Yes, there are problems, as I pointed out, but we can fix them. We should fix them. We should be working together to make it even better.
And what is one perception of yourself you'd like to change?
Sometimes people think I get excited and angry about mistakes. Not true.
Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Fogel.
Thank you very much.